Yeah, so I have on the screen our case study. So because I'm going to be taking you guys through the case study today, what I think would be really good is if you either take a screenshot, so you kind of have your own little reference that you can refer back to as we write the program, or if you're old school and you like to handwrite it on a piece of paper, you can absolutely do that. This is page one. I'm about to flip over to the second page in 5 seconds. Good. And this is going to be a second page, which basically gives us all the information about our client. And I will start writing in a couple of minutes. If you're just joining, so I keep on repeating myself, but in the chat box, I have kind of posed a few questions. And those questions are just a bit of information on yourselves. Would love to know who you guys are, where you guys are from. And I would love to keep you guys up to date with regards to things like this that we do in the future, webinars, case study stuff, as well as new courses. We've got lots of cool plans for future. I want to keep you guys on the loop. So if you're open to sharing that with me, you don't have to share it in the group, but you can just share it with me directly. Let me see where that has gone. Messaging. Chat. Okay, great. Hi, Teresa. Yeah, if you don't mind sharing that information on the chat group, you can send it to me personally if you want. And hello, Natasha. Thank you for joining us. Good to have you on here. All right, I'm just going to give it another couple minutes. I'm just going to flick back to page one of our case study today, guys. Won't tell you too much as to what we're going to do. I will do that in a couple of minutes when we start. But this is our case study. We have a hybrid athlete, hybrid all the rage right now. Lots of people talking about it. So make some notes, take a screenshot, take a photo on your phone so you got something that you can kind of reference as we write through this program. I will be referencing as we go along. And then I'm going to flip to the next page. Hello, Emma in Hong Kong. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you for joining us. And active listening is fantastic. Do not have to have your screen on. Cool, guys. And here is the here's the background information on our client. Again, take a screenshot, scribble down some notes on a piece of paper, take a photo on your phone just so you have reference. And then we're going to get started. I'm going to give it one last minute, and then we're going to rock and roll. Has anyone got any clients? You can either show a hand, or I think you can, as a way for you to signal a thumbs up. Has anyone got any clients that kind of fall under the hybrid category? So if anyone's coaches here, hybrid category meaning, they have goals that are strength training or strength and conditioning based. So kind of like running, lifting type goals. Has anyone got anyone they're working with? Obviously, those who are in the CrossFit space, I guess kind of everyone falls under this category, kind of. But if you're not in the CrossFit space, we'd love to know if you have any hybrid clients. Cool. Okay, team. I think it's time for us to get going. Everyone good to go? Awesome. I know that people are probably going to be coming in and out of this call, or hopefully in, not out, into this call over the next hour. So I'm just going to keep on letting them in. This is all being recorded as well. So I will be sharing a recording with everyone after this call. Okay, let's get into it. So guys, we are here to do a case study. We've done quite a few of these now. The whole idea of this is to really just share with you guys how I would go about writing a training program. And I'm going to share kind of our framework, and I'll explain all of my choices. The whole idea here is to hopefully give you guys some tools to help you start writing training programs for yourselves or for your clients or for your friends or for your family, whoever it is that you are, wanting to write programs for. We have lots of people on these calls who are coaches. We have lots of people who aren't coaches, who just love training and just want to learn a bit more. So that's fantastic. And yes, I'm going to present you guys the framework. And the framework that I'm going to teach you guys today is the framework that we teach on our coaching course. Our coaching course is an online course. We actually have a cohort starting next week. We run 2 cohorts a year. So I won't kind of go too heavy into like the principles and the reasoning behind it, but I'll definitely present the framework so that you guys will understand why we use it and how to actually start using it yourself. Okay, let's meet our client. Our client's name is Johnny Wick. he is a 35-year-old male. He has been doing 5 years of resistance training. So what I mean by 5 years of resistance training, he's been consistently following some form of program. We're going to assume he's been working with a coach for the last 5 years. So he hasn't just been going into, a commercial gym and doing bits and bobs without structure. This guy is, he's been following some decent programming. Now, because he's done 5 years of resistance training, in my eyes, he kind of falls under the kind of beginner, maybe crossing into like intermediate when it comes to training age. So things that we can definitely assume with Mr. Johnny Wick is he's probably pretty competent around the gym. He can execute most exercises with a pretty good degree of form and technique. And yeah, he doesn't need kind of motor control adaptations. Like he knows how to basically do most exercises in the gym. Now, he is going to be doing, well, we are going to be doing a 5-week training cycle. And he's going to be doing 3 training sessions a week. So in our last webinar, we took a client who was doing 2 sessions a week, and we did a 4-week cycle. So we're getting a little bit more comprehensive now with this client. Now, Mr. Johnny Wick has some goals. His goals are, he wants to do a 5-kilometer run in under 30 minutes. He wants to hit a deadlift 3-rep max personal best. He wants to hit a bench press 1-rep max personal best. And he wants to try and maintain muscle mass and strength in the other areas during the cycle. So things not related to his deadlift and bench pressing. He wants to still make sure he's giving those areas some love, and he's not just going all in on deadlifting, bench pressing, and running. We're going to learn a little bit more about where Johnny Wick's current statistics are. So we're going to have some proper metrics. Now, first thing I'll say here is John has some pretty big goals, and he only has 5 weeks. That's not a whole amount of time. So if John was actually my client, I'm going to have a pretty honest conversation with him and say, hey, listen, we've only got 3 sessions a week. That's not that many training opportunities given how many goals you've set for yourself. I would probably pose a question and say, hey, the more goals we pick in a 5-week training cycle, the less likely we are to accomplish all of them. So if you're okay with that, if you're okay by, making a 1 kilogram PR on your deadlift and a 1 kg bench press PR, then I'm cool with that. But if you're looking for massive improvements and changes here, I'd probably just say to him, honestly, hey, listen, like 5 weeks isn't long. 3 sessions a week isn't many. So we have to manage our expectations appropriately. Okay, let's move on. Some important information that we have for John here. He trains 3 times a week at a home gym. And let's assume he's got a fully equipped home gym, like a typical, let's say a typical CrossFit gym. He's got barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, benches, all that good stuff. Let's say he doesn't have all the cool fancy machines. Currently is not following a plan, but his current split, he's doing 1 upper body day, 1 lower body day, and 1 running session. That's how he's splitting his 3 sessions. On Mondays and Wednesday, he's got 60 minutes to train, but on Friday, he's got a longer period. He can actually train for 90 minutes. It's important information for us to know. Okay, let's say that we did a movement assessment with John, and his lower body moves perfectly. He's got great mobility. He's got no movement dysfunction. He's got no red flags. He's good to go. The only thing we picked up on is he's missing some overhead mobility. So he's missing 15 to 20 degrees of shoulder flexion. So that overhead position. Okay, so that's important information we might need to know for later. Okay, his current lifts, this is and PRs, obviously important for us to know because he set some goals. His current deadlift 3-rep max is 150 kilograms. He tested that 3 months ago, so we can assume that's pretty accurate. His current bench press 1-rep max is 90 kilograms, and his current 5 km run is 33 minutes. So he's looking to run his 5K in sub 30 minutes. We've got to shave 3 minutes off there. And his bench press and deadlift, all he has said is he wants to hit a new PR. So if we even went 0.5 kg higher than his 150 kg deadlift, it was 150 kg deadlift, and we went 0.5 kg higher than his 90 kg bench press, we have set a new PR. Okay, so it's important to remember he hasn't given us any specific goals. Everyone cool with our case study, Mr. Johnny Wick. Johnny Wick is also a movie star. He didn't note that, but you may have seen him appear in some movies, and he's really good at messing people up. He kills about 500 guys in an hour, but we didn't have that details in this case study. Let's move on. Okay, first thing we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to go through something called the GPS. Now, the GPS is our framework, which is a very, very necessary first step that we have to go through when writing a training program. It's basically like our roadmap. GPS, most of you will know, as a and we think about GPS as kind of like, when we stick our telephone up in our car and we type in our map and our destination where we want to get to, our GPS is basically going to map out a route to get us from where we currently are to where we want to get to. It's exactly the same when it comes to training. The GPS is a chance for us to create a general plan that's going to tell us how we're going to get from where we are to where we want to get to. And where we want to get to is the goals that he's set out for us. So GPS stands for general. I'll take you through this in a second. Priorities and structure. Okay. What we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and write the program. So what I'm going to do, because all of us probably write programs in different ways. Some of us might have, a software that they use to write their programs. Some of us might be old school and like writing programs on a piece of paper. That was certainly how I wrote programs for many, many years. Some people might like using things like Google Sheets, or some people might use notes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to assume that no one has anything fancy here. And I'm going to just write our program on a simple Excel spreadsheet. I'm not going to use any formulas, nothing too fancy, just so we're not pushing you guys have to do it a certain way. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm just going to stop the share screen, guys. I'm going to share another screen with you, sorry. Okay. Can everyone see my screen, guys? Okay, love it. So because we've got 1 hour and we've got to write a 5-week program, we've got 3 sessions a week, I kind of just, before this call, I just quickly made a bit of a head start on filling out our GPS. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us so everyone can see it. Can everyone see that? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, fantastic. So let's just quickly talk about what the GPS means. G stands for general. What is the general focus of this training cycle? General focus of the training cycle. The second one, P, priorities. What are the most important things for us to focus on in this training cycle? And then the last one, S, structure. Let's write a basic structure for what each session will look like. So when we talk about the structure, we're not writing sets, we're not writing reps, we're not writing rest period. We're just maybe writing things like what muscle groups are we going to hit, or what exercises do we really want to focus on. That's what the S is going to be. And then, and only then, once we have filled out the G, P, and the S, then we're going to go down here. We're actually going to go and start writing out the training program, okay? And you're going to see why this is such an important step. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, because what most coaches do, they finish their assessment, they got all this information, and they go straight down to here and they start saying, okay, I'm going to do bench press, and I'm going to do deadlift, and then I'm going to do, and they start writing on all this stuff. And they kind of get 2 days through and they're like, oh shit, this doesn't make sense. This is getting confusing. What should I be doing here? What should I be doing there? And this is where we start losing lots of time. So if we can go through this process, GPS, it's going to make your life a lot easier. And I'm about to take you through that now. Okay, let's start with general. We're looking at this cell here. So what is the general focus of this training cycle? Well, we know, we're just stating facts here. It's a 5-week training cycle. We've got 3 sessions a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, we also know that Monday and Wednesday, he's got 60 minutes per session, just 1 hour. And on Friday, he's got 90 minutes per session. So a little bit more time to do a bit more training on the Friday session. We know generally we're going to be doing some running progressions because we need to prepare him for a 5K run. And we know that we need to be working absolute strength. Absolute strength is what we're talking about. Typically speaking, you're kind of like the 1 to 5 rep range. We're talking about like heavy grinding loads with heavy external load on the body. And specifically, we're going to be working on the bench press and deadlift. Why? Because remember, that's his 2 main goals. But he did also say that he wants to maintain strength and hypertrophy, his muscle mass in other areas. So I'm going to be making sure that I'm also doing some full body strength training and hypertrophy work. So, building his muscle mass. But it's going to be more in maintenance mode. The reason it's going to be a maintenance mode is because really we're going to be pouring our resources into his bench press and deadlift. Those are the 2 most important things, as well as his runs. Cool. So it's really important we write that stuff down, because here's the thing, guys. When I start writing John's program, realistically, I might not write 5 weeks all at once. I might write his first week or his first 2 weeks. And then in 1 to 2 weeks time, I'm going to come back to John's program. I'm going to write his next week of training. Now, if I didn't write this down, imagine what's going to happen when I come back in 2 weeks to write his program. And imagine I've got 10 other clients that I'm doing this for. I'm probably going to forget what John's doing and what we're actually working towards. So that's why it's super, super important. We have to write this stuff down. This is like our cheat sheet that we can come back and refer to every time we come back to John's program. Okay, next, priorities. Simple. What are John's priorities? He has to do a 5 km run in under 30 minutes. He's currently, his PR is 33 minutes. Next, he's going to hit bench press 1 rep max PR. His current PR is 90 kilograms. Next, we're going to hit a deadlift 3 rep max PR, and his current PR is 150 kilograms. Now, did you guys notice in his movement assessment, we saw that his overhead mobility was poor? Okay, so the question is, should we be prioritizing trying to improve his overhead mobility? Generally speaking, I would say, yeah, we want to be making sure people have great mobility and can use their joints in full range of motion. However, John has 3 really important priorities right now. And overhead mobility doesn't really fit into bench pressing, deadlifting, and a 5 kilometer run. So for me, I'm going to say that I'm not going to prioritize improving John's overhead mobility this cycle. Instead, I'm going to really focus on these 3 things and maintaining strength and hypertrophy in other areas. And I'm going to address overhead mobility perhaps in another training cycle. Cool, guys? It just doesn't really align with his priorities right now. Okay, here's the fun stuff. Now what we need to do, we need to write a basic structure for what each training session is going to look like. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I'm just gonna, as I do this, guys, I'm probably gonna make mistakes. I'm probably gonna write something down. I'm probably gonna backspace it. And this is the very nature of what writing programs looks like. Very rarely do we nail it first time. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. We've got to kind of start writing things down and seeing if it all fits. So the first thing I want to look at here is, okay, I've got 60 minutes, 90 minutes. So I've got an opportunity to do more work in this session 3. I need to also think about, well, what kind of stuff do I need to be hitting here? Now, he's got 5 kilometers run. Can you guys hear an echo? Is that just me? Just me? Okay, cool. Okay, he's got to do a 5 kilometer run. So my question is, okay, how often do we need to be running? Do we need to run just once a week? Or do we need to maybe think about running twice a week? I'm going to say that because right now, John is running once a week. Remember, he's doing 1 upper body session, he's doing 1 lower body session, and 1 running session. I'm going to increase his running frequency to 2 times a week. I know if I can increase him to 2, and if he can recover from that, we're going to get some faster adaptations because we've got 3 minutes to try and shave off on John's goal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start filling this in now. I'm going to do a run. And I'm also probably going to do a second run in session 1. Now, as to what I'm actually going to be doing in these sessions, I'm not too sure, but I'm probably going to say that because I've got longer in session 3 and I got 2 rest days coming up, I might do 5 km progressions. So this is going to be like hard running progressions. Okay. Now in session 1, what else would John need to do in order to be able to be successful in a 5 km run? Well, it's definitely an aerobic test, right? He's going to be running for 30 minutes continuously. I want to get some probably like easy aerobic work on his session 1. Nothing too crazy. I just want him to get 30 minutes on his feet, but at a lower intensity. I'm not going to smash him, but I just want to make sure he's okay to run continuously for at least 30 minutes. So I might say 30 minutes. These are just my rough notes. Okay. So I've got his running sorted. I've ticked that box now. Now I've got to get bench pressing and I've got to get deadlifting in somewhere. All right. So what I might do here is I know that in session 3, he's got the 5 km run progressions. I don't really want to be trashing his legs before he goes for a 5 km run. So I'm probably not going to put deadlifting before his 5 km run. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put some bench press 1RM progressions. I'm probably then going to put maybe some deadlift 1RM progressions on his Wednesday, because Wednesday doesn't have any conditioning based work. Okay, now question is, do I need to be doing more than 1 deadlift session? And do I need to be doing more than 1 bench press session a week? I would probably say it would be beneficial, right? Because we know that he's got very specific goals. He's got 3 things he's trying to work on. So do we do heavy deadlifting twice a week? And do we do heavy bench pressing twice a week? I'm not sure going really heavy twice a week is going to be good for him. So I think we might do, 1 easy day and 1 moderate day. And what I might do instead, I might actually do some deadlifting, but I might make this light work on the Friday. And maybe on his Monday session, start of the week, I'm going to go deadlift 3 RM. That way I'm just kind of spreading out his deadlifting days. Okay, I don't know what the reps is going to be like. I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Okay, what else have I got to do? Bench pressing. Do I want to get him doing bench pressing twice a week? Well, I think it'd probably be advantageous. So I'm going to probably do some bench press and I'm going to do some lighter work on the Monday. Remember, I'm giving him this stuff twice a week because he's got very specific goals. He really just wants 3 things more than anything else. Okay, guys. So when I look at that, I have already addressed our 3 priorities. Does everyone see that? The 3 most important things, I've made sure I started with them and I've got them down on this program, so I'm not going to miss it. Most importantly, we've always got to write down the most important things first. So what other goals have we got for John? We've got to make sure we're getting full body strength and hypertrophy. He wants to maintain muscle mass, he wants to maintain strength. So I need to get that into his week now. Now I've basically got a nice free open day on his second session right now. Everyone see that? So this is probably an opportunity for me to start putting in some stuff. So right now I've got no pulling. So I might do some upper body pulling, strength. I might do some single leg. I haven't got any single leg work in there. Or I might do a squat, some form of squatting strength. So I've got his upper body. I've got some squatting strength. What other stuff am I not doing? I've got plenty of pressing work already. I might get some lower body. So I might do some quad, glute, or hamstring work. Hypertrophy, because he's already doing some heavy deadlifting already. I don't need to go heavy again. Okay, cool. And I think I might have some opportunities to squeeze some more work in there. Okay, let me have a look at that again and make sure I haven't missed anything else. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so guys, have a look at that. Super basic, right? We haven't gone into reps and sets or anything like that. I've just made sure I've got all the main things. And I've got to ask myself this question. Okay, am I addressing his 5-kilometer run? Am I going to try and get him a PR? Okay, yeah, I've got running once here, I've got running once here. Okay, I think that's going to be good, so long as I can write something half decent for him. Next, am I addressing his bench press 1 rep max? Well, I've got him doing some heavy benching there, and I've got him doing maybe some lighter benching here. Okay, I'm going to be good. Deadlift. I've got him doing some heavy deadlifting on Monday, and I've got some lighter deadlifting on a Friday. Okay, I'm confident. Am I now also making sure I'm looking after full body strength and hypertrophy? Okay, I've got some upper body pulling in there. Fantastic. I've got some squatting strength in there. Fantastic. And I've got some lower body support work in there. I might even put in some upper body / core hypertrophy if I've got space for it. I've only got 60 minutes. I don't know if I've got time for it, but I'm going to put that in there. Okay, everyone good? Are we all on the same page, guys? Nice. Okay, now it's the fun shit. Now we have our structure and we've got the GPS filled out. Now we can actually go ahead and start writing this training program. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reverse engineer this. So rather than starting with week 1 and then going week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, I'm actually going to work backwards from week 5. Reason being is I know that I need to test John at some point, right? I need to test and see if we can improve his deadlift, we can improve his bench press, and I can see if we can improve his 5K and run. Yep, so here's what I'm going to do. I know that we're going to do 5K and running on a Friday. So in week 5, we're going to do a 5-kilometer run test. Fantastic. Okay, but I also know on that same day, I'm going to do a 1 rep max bench press. Cool. I've got that in there because that's what he's going to be doing on the session 3. I want to keep the same days consistent throughout. Okay, and I know I'm going to do a deadlift 3 rep max here on the session 1. Okay, so once again, I am starting. Oh, let's just keep this consistent. 3 RM deadlift. Okay, so I've started with that because it's the most important thing. There's priorities. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to start by writing out his progression here. Yeah, I'm going to go backwards. So I'm going to start with, let's start with his deadlift, session 1. So if in week 5, he's going to do a 3 RM deadlift, what do I want him doing in week 4, the week before? Now, question is, do I need to be giving John a deload? He's got 5 weeks. Sometimes deloads are really good things to do before testing weeks. I'm going to say, because we've only got 5 weeks here, I'm going to say John does not get a deload. Sorry, John. You are just going to progress for 4 weeks, and then you're going to smash testing day in week 5, and then you're going to take your deload. However, if this was an 8-week training cycle, then I'd probably give John a deload around maybe week 7 or even week 5 to just kind of make sure he's not, running himself into a wall and he's got nothing left on testing day. So 3 RM deadlift. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go deadlift 5 times 3. I'm going to say build to 90 to 95%. So the week before he tests, I'm going to make sure he goes something pretty heavy, but he's not going to go all out. Cool. So what am I going to do the week before? Here's the thing with programming guys, we can do this a million different ways and they would all be successful. So this is all about just seeing a different perspective. You might see this and be like, I might have actually done something different there, in which case totally fine. But I'm just going to go with something quick that I know is going to work. Okay, so if he's going to be going there, if I want him to build to 90-95% in week 4, what do I need him to do the week before that to set him up for success? I could just go 5 by 3 again, and I can say build to 80 to 85%, right? That's a pretty linear progression. I might say the week before that, I might go something like 5 by 4, and I might go in week 1, 5 by 5. And I'm going to say build to something moderate. Build to something mod heavy. Okay, so I'm basically going to start bringing in the percentages in week 3. I could actually put in percentages right from week 1 and basically have them be super calculated. Now, actually, I'm going to change this up. I'm going to change this up because I already know what his PR is. And my goal is to get John a PR, right? So to get PR, if I can just add 1 kilogram to John's deadlift, I've been successful as a coach and John's going to be happy. So here's what we're going to do. Rather than giving a percentage, I want John to build to 140 to 145 kg. Okay. Week before that, 130 to 135 kg. Build to, let's say, 120 to 125 kg. There's no secret to these numbers, guys. I'm kind of just pulling stuff out of thin air that just kind of makes sense. Build to 105 to 110 kg. Okay. Can everyone see that, guys? Can everyone see how that's a progression that would probably work for John? Week 1, not too challenging for him. It's getting a little bit harder each week. And then here, 3 RM deadlift. So we're going to go deadlift, build to 150 kg, 151 kg or more. Cool. Right. I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave session 1 alone for now because I've got the stuff I want to get. Now, I'm going to now go to session 3. I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to start with probably the easier bit, which is going to be 1 RM bench press. I'm going to just follow something super similar here. So we're going to go bench press. I haven't written exercise order yet. I'm going to get John doing this with some tempo. He is going to build to, so we'll say build to a 1 RM. Target is 91 kg or more. Cool. Now, let's work backwards from there. If that's what he's going to hit in that, what's he going to do the week before that? So we might go 4 times, let's go a little bit, let's change it up, so we're not so boring. We're going to go 2, 2, 2, 1. You're going to build to 85 kg. Let's give him a little range just in case he's not having too good of a day. 82 to 86. Okay, so we're going to get him building to a heavy single in week 4, but it's not a 1 RM, right? Now let's go ahead and do the week before that. I might get him doing a 3, 3, 2, 2. I know if he's going to build to 1 there, I'm going to build to 75 to 80 kg. Good. And I'm going to go 4 by 4. I'm going to fill in the weights a little bit later. And I'm going to get him to go. Now, in fact, let's just keep this nice descending rep scheme so we're nice and consistent. 4, 4, 3, 3. And then let's go 5, 5, 4, 4. Cool. I'm just giving you guys a slightly different way to look at it rather than just doing, a straight rep scheme, because John's been doing strength training for 5 years. I can play around with descending rep schemes and still be pretty confident he's going to hit that. So guys, let's look at that bench press progression. Do we think that if we started here in week 1, we're going to successfully get him to hit a new bench press PR in week 5? I'm pretty comfortable with that, right? He's accumulated volume over the weeks. He's getting ready to lift heavier loads. I'm confident that on his final testing week, he's going to hit a new one rep max. Okay, great. Now, the only thing I've got to do now is his 5 km run. So we're now talking about energy systems. Now, I'm going to, once again, I'm going to work backwards with John. So if he's going to do a 5 km run on the final week, what I might get him to do in week 4, I want to set him up for success here. I'm going to get him to go 2 sets of 2,500 meters, okay, at 5 km target pace. Okay, why am I doing that? I'm basically getting him to do 2 intervals of 50% of the run. Okay, there are some frameworks and some general rules that we follow here when it comes to energy system training, but this is a general way that I would prep him on this training day because he's going to be doing 5K run progressions. I'm going to start with lower volume at higher intensities, and I'm going to basically build up his volume towards a 5K. I might even, you know what? I might even get him to go 2 times 3,000 meters. So he's going to get, that's going to be pretty tough. It's going to be a pretty tough session. But I'm going to try and get him to do 2 sets of 3,000. Now, if he can do that, I'm confident that the next week he could do 1 set of 5,000 at that same pace. You guys see that? Okay, so I'm just going to use distance as my progression here. So the week before that, I'm going to go 2 times 2,500. So again, I'm building volume. Week before that, I might even go, let's go 2,500. I'm going to go like, this is going to be a bit of a bigger volume day, 3 times 2. And I'm going to get week 1 to be a little easier. I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going to make sure it's a nice, comfortable week 1. Now, again, we could have written out progression in lots and lots of different ways. But rather than changing his pacing or playing around with rest periods, I just decided, okay, I'm just going to progress his volume each week. And then here on week 4, I'm confident now that he can hit a 5K run at his pace. Now, what is his 5 km target pace? Now, we know that we need to run under 30 minutes. That is a goal, right? So if anyone is half decent at maths, if we want John to run 5 kilometers in 30 minutes, what does his average 1 kilometer pace have to be? I'm basically asking you guys, so I'm stalling to give myself a second to calculate this.
If 6 minutes?
6 minutes. Who said that? Okay, Polina. So we got 6. This is how primitive my mind works when it comes to maths. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Fantastic. So if he runs a 6 kilometer pace, he is going to hit at 30 minutes. But his goal is sub 30 minutes. So I'm going to go with a 5:59 average 1K pace. Make sense, guys? If he can run a 5:59 and he can do that, we are hitting a PR. So we're going to put that in there, 5:59 average kilometer pace. Now, just because, let's maybe give him a little range. Maybe he's got some days where he's feeling good. I'm going to copy and paste that across all. Okay, team, can we see that run progression? See what we did there? We started with his testing day. We started at the end and we worked our way back. And you're just simply asking yourself the question every day, what do I need to do the week before to set him up for success the next week? It's much harder when you start at week 1 and try to build out a progression. Always start at the end, at the target date, and reverse engineer. Okay, great. So now I've got all his most important things done. Now it's about getting his accessory work done. Now, I'm going to start to add in now exercise order, A, B, C, D, A1, A2. This is just basically going to build even more structure to our training session. Now I'm going to get him on session 1. I want him to start with the deadlift because it's going to be the most important thing in his session. If I put deadlifting at the end, when it's his priority, not a good idea. So we're going to go deadlifting, and he's going to rest 2 to 3 minutes between sets because this is heavy strength work. He needs to make sure he gets enough rest. B, we got some bench pressing, light work. Now, because he cares about health, I'm going to get him to go with a dumbbell dual arm bench press. I'm going to get him to go with a semi-pronated grip just to basically give his shoulders and stabilizers a bit of love. Now, because this is a lighter day and he's building to a 1, I'm going to maybe go sets of 5 to 6 reps, rest 2 minutes. In fact, that is a little low. I'm going to go 7 to 8, bump it up a little bit. Okay, C, I've got him doing some run work. Okay, now I said that in session 1, I just want him doing some lower intensity work because I want him to get used to running on his feet for 30 minutes, but I don't need to smash him again. He's already got one really hard session coming up at the end of the week. He's only doing 1 run session a week right now. So if I give him 2 run sessions that are hard in the week, that's probably going to mess up John. Make sense, guys? So I'm going to go with an easier session. So I'm going to go, John's going to do 30-minute run at zone 2 pace. Okay, so nasal breathing / conversation pace. I love zone 2 work. It's a fantastic way to build that aerobic base. You get some great mitochondria adaptations, and it's kind of like an active recovery run. He's still getting 30 minutes of continuous stepping volume on his feet. Okay, I'm happy that now. Let's go ahead and finish off the rest of his program here. Okay, now we've got his deadlifting sorted. Now, what about his bench pressing? Do we want to go, rather than giving a rep scheme here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go slightly higher, 8 to 10. Week 2, I'm going to keep his bench press reps the same because I'm just going to get him to go slightly heavier. So I might increase load from week 1. Now, his 30-minute run session, again, I'm going to go back to week 1. I'm going to change that. I'm going to go 20 minutes, nice and easy in week 1. Week 2, I'm just going to do a little volume progression. I'm going to get him doing a 25-minute run. And then let's go to week 3. Okay, now I'm going to start to probably drop his reps on his bench press. So we're going to go 10, 10, 8, 8. So an overall increase. I'm going to bump him up to a 30-minute run. Okay, fantastic. Got his A work there. Now, I know he needs to be resting a long time. So guys, by the way, if you got questions, please write them down, and then we're going to have a little chat at the end. You can fire all your questions towards me. If you're like, why the hell did you do that? That doesn't make sense. I would have done this. I want to hear about it. We can have a chat at the end. Okay, great. We're going to week 4 now, deadlifting. Rest 2 to 3 minutes. Now, I might even start to kind of give him a little bit more rest in his deadlift as we get towards the end because we're getting heavy now. Good. And we got B. Now, dual arm bench press. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Do I want to give John just 4 weeks of dual dumbbell bench pressing? That might be a little bit boring for him. He might be getting to week 3 and be like, oh, God, same again, boring. I want to change this up. So I'm actually going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to take a backward step. I'm going to go back to his week 1. I'm going to go dual arm incline, 45-degree bench press. The reason I'm going to change that to an incline is just to change up the pressing pattern. So I'm actually going to go with a 45-degree incline for the first couple of weeks. And then actually in week 3, I'm actually going to change that to a 30-degree. So I'm going to start getting his bench a little bit lower. So he's working a little bit more pec here. Again, no reason I can get him to go higher and focus a little bit more shoulders. But I'm going to go 4 by 8. Okay. Now, we know in testing week, build to a 1 rep max, deadlift 1 RM, rest 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. I want him resting a really long time. Now, I might even give him some guidelines here. I might even say you're going to go 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Let's get rid of that 4. Right, so I'm going to get him to continue to build to a 1 rep max there. Now, once he's done that deadlift, do I need to get him to do heavy dumbbell bench pressing or moderate heavy bench pressing? No, not really. So I'm just going to get him to go with some lighter dumbbell bench pressing. I might go, let's say, dual dumbbell bench press. I'm going to go flat. So we go semi-pronated grip again. I'm going to go just 3 sets of 5 moderate. Rest 2 minutes. So in that final session, I don't want him to go too crazy. Why? What have we got happening on the Friday? We've got a bench press test. So I don't want to smash him on that Monday because Friday's going to come round. He's going to have nothing left to give. So we're kind of going to start deloading him on that Monday session. Now, let's finish off his run stuff. I'm going to keep week 4 with a 30-minute run. I'm not getting fancy here. I could also change that to distance. You know, for example, if in week 3, he ran in 30 minutes at zone 2, he ran 3.5K, I might change week 4 to say, you know, a 3.6K at zone 2 pace. I can actually give him some distances here, but I'm going to keep it super simple for now. Now for here, on his final day, I'm going to get him to do a 30-minute run, but I'm going to get him to do, in fact, I'm going to get him to do a 20-minute run. I'm going to go 10 minutes at zone 2 and 10 minutes at zone 1. This is going to be a deload. Cool. All right, reason I'm giving him a deload then is what do I have coming up in this final day of that week? He's got a 5K run. Do not need to be smashing him. I'm going to reduce volume and intensity so he's good. Okay, team, we have now completed session 1. Okay, we've got session 1 done. We've got kept it super simple. We've got deadlifting, we've got pressing, and then we've got 20 to 30 minutes of running. That I think he can get done in a 60-minute window. I'm confident with that. Now, session 2, we haven't even started yet. Let's get into session 2 now. Now, we got to refer back to our GPS. Session 2, we're going to do some upper body pulling, some squatting strength, some glute ham raise, some glutes, hamstrings, quads, and some upper body potential work. Remember, this session is going to be a lower intensity session because this is just his strength maintenance. Remember, that was one of his goals. So I'm going to go ahead and write this out. I know that I'm going to be doing a deload in week 5 because he's got a massive day coming up after that. So I will give him, we're going to start with squatting and referring back to here. So let's go with a front squat, 3 seconds down with a 1 second pause. It's strength work. So I'm going to get him to go 4 sets of 6, rest 2 to 3 minutes. So I chose a front squat, guys, because I want to focus a little bit more on his quads versus his posterior chain, because his posterior chain is getting a lot of work already with all that deadlifting work. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on the quads, which is why I chose a front squat over a back squat. B, I got to do some upper body pulling strength work. We're going to go simple. We're going to go with the neutral grip, weighted pull up, 3 down, 1 up, 4 sets of, let's go 5 reps, rest 2 to 3 minutes. And let's just assume these are all building, guys. We're going to build the loads. Okay. Then we've got some quads, glutes, hamstrings. Now, we definitely don't need to do more hinging work. We don't need to do RDLs. We don't need to do good mornings because he's doing loads of hinging already in his Monday and Friday sessions. So I'm going to go something more simple. I'm going to go with a glute ham raise. Okay, I'm going to maybe go 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps. Maybe he needs to use a band to assist him there. All right, the reason I'm doing glute ham raise there, I'm working his hamstrings, but I'm not loading his spine. I'm giving his spine a bit of a break now on this day because he's got loads of hinging. I also need to get some upper body, maybe some accessory work in there because he's got so much pushing on session 1 and 3. I'm not going to give any more pushing here. I might go with a single arm dumbbell bench supported rope, 3 down, 1 up. And I'm going to go 3 sets at 8 per arm. Rest 1 min between sides. Rest 2 minutes. Okay, fantastic. Front squats, pull-ups. Have I hit all of this? Okay, I probably got enough time. At 60 minutes, I probably got some core work I can get in there. Let's go E. I'm going to get him to go with, let's make this a little bit more fun rather than just being so boring. Let's go 3 rounds for quality of a 150-foot dual kettlebell farmer's carry. And I'm going to get him to go 30 seconds side plank per side. Continuous. Cool. Just to change it up, be a bit more creative. I've got some core work in there to finish. Right. I'm pretty happy with that. Am I hitting all of these requirements? Yes. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to week 2. Now, do I need to change anything? Again, I'm going to make week 1 just 2 rounds of quality, so I've got some way to progress him. Week 2, I'm going to keep it exactly the same. I'm even going to make this 2 rounds of quality, but I'm going to say try to increase kettlebell load or add dumbbell on hip, right? So basically going to get him to, this is just going to be a straight progression from week 1. Everyone good with that? Okay, let's go to session 3. Now, we know we have a deload coming up. I've been going front squats. How can I progress this front squat to make that more challenging? I could reduce the rep scheme. I could also remove that pause. If I remove that pause from the bottom, that's going to allow him to go a little bit heavier the front squat. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of that pause. It's going to be 3 down, 1 up. And I'm going to get him to go 4 sets of 6. Yep, that'll already be more weight. Okay, his weighted pull-ups. I'm going to get him to go 5, 4, 3, 3. We're building to something heavier now. Glute ham raises. I'm going to get him to go 5 to 7. Maybe I can even get him to add a load on his chest to make it harder. Okay, single arm bench supported row. I could just give him a progression, but why don't I change that up to something else? Why don't I go with a 30-degree dual dumbbell incline row? And I'm going to go 3 sets of 10 to 12. So basically, guys, I've gone with another horizontal pulling movement there, but I've just changed it up just to lighten up as well. I know as well, if I get him to go from a single arm dumbbell to dual arm, he's actually not going to be able to go quite as heavy. And that's kind of good because everything on his Monday session and his Friday session is getting a little bit more intense. So if I just make everything continuously harder, he's going to be pretty broken by the time he gets to the end there. Now, what can we do here? Can we change this up? Yeah, remember, core work is not a priority for him. It's not something he wants. So I might just change this up altogether. I might go 100-foot single arm suitcase carry. I'm going to get him to go a 60-second front plank on elbows, add load. Now, notice, guys, that this is not a progression from this. It doesn't always need to be progressed because it's not a priority for him. He's already pretty strong. We're just saying, let's get some core work in there. So I've actually just changed it all together and given him something new. Okay, we're going to go to week 4 now. Front squats. Now, do I need to progress him? Yeah. So what I'm going to go 6, 6, 5, 4. I just want to go a little bit heavier because in his last week, this is my last chance to get him doing some heavy squatting work. Neutral grip pull-ups. I might have get him to, or let's get real fancy, guys. We're going to go 5, 4, 3, and I'm going to get him to go back to a set of 5. So it's going to be an overall volume increase on his pull-ups. Glute ham raises. Yeah, let's just try and make that even harder. 30-degree incline row. Let's tell him to increase load. Okay, then we've got, let's just keep that the same. Let me go back here, change that to 45 seconds so we can progress it. Added time. Okay, I'm speeding through this, guys. Hope you guys are keeping up with this, but I hope you can see the kind of logical progressions. Now, final session on a session 2. I have already made him do a test on day 1. So I'm going to say his body's going to be a little bit fatigued coming into Wednesday. And I know he's got a big day coming up on session 3, right? It's because he's going to test a bench and a 5K run. So I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to go A work. I'm going to go with a dumbbell heel elevated goblet squat. 3 down, 1 up. He's going to go with 3, 10, build to moderate. Now, I'm getting to do this because a goblet squat is going to force you to go a little bit lighter. You can't really go that heavy with it because I want his body just to have a bit of a chill out day before he goes into his crazy testing. Okay, cool. And then let's go B. Let's go. He's been doing neutral grip pull-ups all cycle. I'm going to get him to go with a pronated pull-up. Let's go 3 times AMRAP minus 3 at body weight. So I'm basically say, hey, John, rather than adding load to our pull-ups now, we're just going to do body weight work, but take the load off. And I want you to do as many reps as possible, but leave 3 reps in the tank. Okay, so that's going to make sure he can't push too hard there. So I really like this protocol on a deload phase, especially for someone who's a little bit stronger. Okay, he's been doing glute ham raises. I don't want to just progress this. If I give him a glute ham raise again, he's going to try and progress it. We're just human beings. You know, when you see something on your paper that you did the week before, naturally you're like, I've got to go harder. I've got to make it harder. So I'm going to give him something completely different here. I'm going to give him a feet suspended, maybe in a TRX hamstring curl. 3 down, 1 up, 3 sets of 6 to 8. Rest 1 minute. Okay, so basically, guys, I'm still training his hamstrings. I'm just lightening it up. It's not as easy to go hard with a TRX hamstring curl, although they still really hurt. And then I'm going to get him to alternate that with, I'm just going to go with a feet elevated ring row. Again, a little bit more easy on the body. 8 to 10, rest 1 minute. Now notice, guys, just to change it up, I went with a C1 and C2 here. Reason being, this is what I call complementary movement pattern, right? There's not much interference between a hammy curl and a ring row. So I like to pair those two things together. And again, just to change it up a little bit. That's really just for variation's sake. Okay, and then I want to do some core work. Let's keep it super simple. He's going to go, I don't want to fatigue his core too much for the last session because he's going to be building to a bench press. He did some deadlifting the day before. So let's go with 3 rounds for quality. No, let's not do that. Let's go the GHD Sorensen hold. Give his glutes some love. 2 times 30 to 45 seconds. D1, let's give him another one. And let's go with a hands on ring front plank. But I'm only going to get him to do 30 seconds. So that core work at the end guys, is a lot easier than what he's been doing. Reason being, it's a deload session. I want to make sure he's fresh for his last sesh. Okay, team. We've done session 1, 5 weeks nailed. We've done session 2. Session 2 was not that important because it's maintenance work. Now we've got his final day to do, and I've basically done the job already, right? I've basically written out my progressions. The only thing I need to add to this is maybe some light deadlifting. So let's go. A, bench press. Rest 3 minutes. I'm going to abbreviate this a wee bit. And then we've got B work. We've got some light deadlifting. Now, what I might do, I might just go with a Romanian deadlift. 3 times. Let's go 3 times 8 reps, 2 minutes, but I want to say moderate. So I might actually prescribe things like an RPE. I might say, go to like a 6 out of 10 here. Or I might use RIRs, reps in reserve. I might say you leave 5 reps in the tank here. This is not supposed to be a heavy day because we've got a hard running session coming up. C, he's going to do his running. Fantastic. Okay, let's go here. We're going to go give him 3 minutes of rest again. Fantastic. Romanian deadlifts, 3 by 8. You know what I'm going to do, guys, just to give him more variation? I'm going to go the snatch grip Romanian deadlift to start. And that's going to force him to go a little bit lighter. So I'm going to get him to go snatch grip RDLs. Again, a bit of variation as well. Snatch grip Romanian deadlifts. And then C work. He's got his running. Fantastic. Okay, and we're going here. Rest 3 minutes. B. This is where I'm going to change it now. Rather than making him do snatch grip deadlifts and trying to progress it, I'm going to get him to go the clean grip Romanian deadlift. Now, because clean grip always allows us to go a bit heavier, I'm going to just put his reps up. I'm going to get him to go 10, so it's not a massive jump from week 2 to week 3. And then we got his run. Nice, we are almost there. 1 more week to do. A work. We are racing along here. Of course, I'm going to get him to progress it, and then he's got his running work. Okay, fantastic. Now, in his final week, I don't need to be doing more hinging work. That hinging work in all these weeks were there to help him prepare for his deadlift 1RM, right? Now, he's already tested his deadlift 1RM in week 5. Do I need to give him more hinging on the Friday? No, I'm done. We've achieved his goal. He's already hit PR. He's a happy client. He's just booked in 20 more PT sessions with me. I'm happy. So we're going to go A, bench press. I want you to take your time here, John. Going to rest 3 to 5 minutes. And then his B work, he's going to go through a nice long warm-up, which if I was actually his coach, I would write that warm-up for him. Then he's going to go crush a PR. Guys, we are done. We have just written in 40 minutes or 35 minutes, a 5-week program for our client, John. And if I look at this, I'm pretty happy with it. Could I have done this in another way? Absolutely. I think we could all sit here and probably write a program that is very different to this, that's still going to deliver the results to John. It's still going to get him PRs. But I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty confident this is going to deliver the results. So let's do a quick recap before we just go through some questions. If you guys have questions, I'm going to give you guys a chance to kind of throw them my way. And if you're not comfortable speaking, you can throw them in the chat box and I'll just read them out loud. Totally fine. So, summary, GPS, guys. This is golden. This is the thing that most coaches do not do. And it's what contributes to making program design so confusing and so tough. We have to go through this process. Always. There's never a time when I write a program that I don't go through a GPS. Even if I'm writing a group training program, an online training program for lots of people to follow, I'm always going to go through a GPS. It's my cheat sheet. So every time I sit down to write another week, I look back at that GPS, I remind myself what I'm doing each day, and then this bit is actually so much easier when you have all of that at the top. If you skip this stage or you speed through it and you just try to go straight down to this phase, guys, it's going to be a nightmare. Even for myself, and I've been doing this for over 15 years now, writing programs almost every day of the week. If I skip this, this gets really hard for me. And this is where I start getting those kind of mind fucks. And, I sit there staring at a screen, typing something out, backspacing it, typing something out, backspacing it. And then programming just becomes really unenjoyable. Okay. Then when it came to writing the actual program, remember what we did. We started with his priorities first. That's the most important stuff we got to nail because that's ultimately what our clients paying us for, right? If we wrote a really good program for John, but at the end of 5 weeks, he didn't PR his run, he didn't PR his bench press, and he didn't PR his deadlift, he's going to come to me as a coach and think, Ed, you didn't deliver the results. That's not what I'm paying for. So remember, super important. And remember how we did that? We started with week 5 first, which was this testing week, and we worked backwards from there. Week 5, if we want to set them up for success, what do we do in week 4? And we simply just go through that process and work our way all the way back to week 1. And then when it came to finishing the rest of the session, which of the 2 days that I did first? I did session 1 and I did session 3, his Monday and Friday sessions first, because those had his priorities in it. And then his third session, session 2, which was kind of his maintenance day, less important. He's not really paying me much for that. He doesn't care too much about it. I did that one last. Okay, guys, you now have the floor to ask me questions. Now, with these questions, if there was something that maybe didn't make sense or you'd like, more explanation on it, please do ask me that. Do ask me now. If you'd like some clarification or justification or something, or even if you have a suggestion, Ed, would this have worked? Would you have done this? Why wouldn't you do this? This is a fantastic opportunity to ask those questions. Let's see. Okay, so I got a good question from Lucinda. Okay, if this was an 8-week cycle, would you have put any more movement variety for the non-priority goal-orientated movements or kept it the same? Okay, really good question. So Lucinda is basically saying for the movements that were not priorities, right? So not the bench, not the deadlift, and not the running, would I put more movement variety? My answer is probably yeah. Also, if I had a bit more time to write this program and I wasn't kind of powering this through this so we could get it done in an hour, yeah, do I need to be progressing his pull-ups every week? Do I need to be progressing his single arm bench sports roads? No, probably not. I could just put kind of any form of pulling work in there, any form of squatting work in there, and that would have done a pretty good job. So yeah, I would definitely put more movement variety in there, and you guys can definitely do that. Where we cannot put more movement variety is his bench press, his deadlift, and his running, because he's got very specific goals there. And the laws of specificity say that if you got specific goals, you need a specific training protocol to prepare for them. So yeah, great question, Lucinda. Okay. Has anyone got, yes, Mariam, hit me.
Hi, Coach. I was thinking, you usually do template A and B, right? Is it only suggested for cycles longer than 6 weeks? Because when I saw the goals, initially I thought, okay, maybe go for focusing on deadlift for the first week, then second week bench press and all that. But then considering it's 5 weeks, so maybe not a good idea. And then second question, is there a reason for 1 RM bench press attempt to be at a tempo? Because I noticed it's, yeah. And then lastly, for Wednesday session, would you say that it's a decent idea to do A1 front squat, A2 pull-ups since both are 4 sets, just to save time as well? That's
Okay,
all.
love it. Those are 3 amazing questions and 3 amazing observations, Mariam. Okay, I'm going to go to your first question, which was, what was your first question again? Holy shit, there were 3 good questions there.
Sorry. So template A and B? Is it only
Yes.
suggested for cycles
Okay.
longer?
Great question. So A/B templates. An A/B template is basically where we go, we have a structure for week 1 and we have a structure for week 2. And then we basically alternate between the two of those. I love A/B templates because it allows you to get a little bit more variety in the training while still having some structure. And the reason I didn't do an A/B template here is exactly like you said, Mariam, we've only got 5 weeks. Now, because we've only got 5 weeks, if we did an A/B template where, for example, week 1 we went deadlift, week 2 we went bench press, and we alternated, that means that this client would only get 2 training days on bench, and he'd only get 2 training days in his deadlift, 2 weeks of it, which for me is not enough given that we've only got 5 weeks anyway. So I'd much rather just run a consistent template. What we could have done if we wanted to get fancy is on his session 2, which was kind of like his maintenance session, we could have actually run an A/B template on the session 2 and like, you know, basically alternated. That would have allowed us to basically get what Lucinda was saying and get a bit more variety in session 2 because it's not a priority for us. So that would have been pretty cool. That would have basically been a really funky template where we've got linear progressions on Monday, linear progressions on Wednesday, and then an A/B template, and an A/B template in session 2. Might have got a little bit confusing, but we could have done that. Okay, going to your second question. Tempo on the bench press. Okay, is that necessary? Now, it's a really good observation. In his goals, he did not state tempo, right? So technically, he didn't say that his previous PRs were the 3010 tempo. So you're right, which means should we have a tempo for his bench press? Because a 3010 tempo, 3 seconds down, 1 second up, is going to mean that he can probably lift less load versus if you did 1 second down, 1 second up, right? We got to agree on that. However, I'm putting in the 3010 tempo because I just want to ensure safety. Now, with that said, I would probably ask him the question, say, John, when you tested your current PR, your current 90 kg 100 max, did you have a tempo there? If he said, no, I just went 2 seconds down, 1 second up, then in my training progression on testing day, I would get him to do 2 seconds down, 1 second up. Because if I made him do 3 seconds, it might mean that he's not going to hit a PR now because it's slower tempo, and then we're not going to have a happy client. So yeah, good question. Let's assume that his current PRs are all using a 3010 tempo. Okay, good question, Mariam. Last one. What was your last question?
Would it be a decent idea for Wednesday session to change a little bit for, let's say if I were to do the same thing, A1 front squat, A2 neutral grip weighted pull-up?
Yeah, that would have worked really well. Yeah, so basically if we went A1, A2 for the pull-ups, I like that because we're not getting, we have very little interference between a front squat and a pull-up. If anything, we might say that your core works quite hard when we do pull-ups, you know, if you're bracing correctly. And I know that when we pair front squats, which is very core heavy, and pull-ups, which is pretty core heavy, when you pair them together, it does get pretty tiring. So that's why I didn't. But it would probably work. By pairing them together, it would actually make sure that he's keeping it would actually force him to keep the loads a bit lighter, which might probably be a good idea given we're trying to save him for Friday. So yes, that definitely would have worked.
Thank you.
Good stuff, Mariam. Good questions. Cool, guys. Any other questions? Okay, Lucinda, another question from you and M. Oh, shit, we got loads of questions here. Great. Okay, I'm going to go with Teresa. Teresa's question, deadlifts is build over the 5 sets, or build then perform 5 sets with that weight. Fantastic question. I just went with a straight build. So the target load was just going to be for his final set. Cool. So we could have done that different ways. We could have actually given like loads for each and every set as he went through it. Or we could have said build through your warm-up sets and then hit this load across all your sets. If we did that, that would be pretty damn challenging. Like if he's going to grind out 5 sets at 80+% of his 1 rep max, I'd say probably not necessary. Because I think if we just did one build, if each week he's just hitting one tough set, on top of the fact that he's got some supplementary pulling work on his session 3, I reckon we're going to get to a good result there. But for sure, you know, we could have changed this and said, you know, 2 sets at, for example, in week 4, we might have said just 2 sets at 140 to 145. So we could have made him do double of that for 2 challenging sets. But again, that's just goes to show that there's so many different ways we can do this. And that would have definitely worked, Teresa. Nice. Okay, I'm going to go to M. The 5-week cycle was suggested by the client. would we want to change that to secure further that Johnny hits his goals? Great question. Okay, so 5 weeks is basically what we're working with, right? The client said, I only have 5 weeks. Let's create a scenario here that in week 6, John was about to go on a 1-month holiday. So basically, we don't have the opportunity to extend his cycle. Yes, if we had 6 weeks, if we had 8 weeks, we could probably get even more creative with the programming, and we could ensure, or better, nothing's for certain, we could create a higher likelihood of hitting PRs. But we're going to assume that here we had 5 weeks to work with, so we couldn't change that. But yes, if it was if we had full choice, I would say, hey, John, have you considered maybe making this a 6 to 8 week cycle? I think we can get even more goals, even more gains. Good question, M. Hope that answers the question. Okay, Lucinda, another question. Okay, if you were doing this for a group of people, not one-on-one programming, would you still have used percentages to prescribe intensity? Or would you use RIR, RPE? Okay, love this question as well. To be honest, I don't really use percentages unless I have a specific client that has a really specific goal that they're trying to hit. In this case, the reason I actually didn't use percentages, but I used prescribed load ranges, is because I knew exactly what load I wanted to build them to in the testing week. So if I was writing this for a group program, let's say I've got 50 people following my group program, and I still had the goals of 5 km run test, bench press 1 rep max, and deadlift 3 RM, right? But I didn't obviously have these PRs. I would therefore probably use RPEs and RIRs, yes, as my means of controlling load. I might give percentages. I only will use percentages if I'm writing programs for a training group where the people following that program are more or less of similar ability levels. So for us at the Protest Programming, in our CrossFit program, for example, we have 3 different groups. We have live, perform, and compete. And we have people who follow each of those programs, have certain levels of strength, which means that I can write a training program with a bit more confidence, knowing that if I write 80 to 85%, I know that my people can hit it. Whereas if I've got a beginner level training group where I've got a whole range of training ages, I've got some people, weight training for the very first time, and I've got some people who've been weight training for 10 years, then I'm probably not going to use percentages because it's just not going to apply to everyone in the group. In that case, I'll probably use things like RPEs, 1 to 10, how hard should this feel? Or I'll probably use RIRs, which is, on your final set, make sure you have, 2 to 3 reps in a tank or 1 to 2 reps in a tank. Great question. Hope that answers the question, Lucinda. Okay. Polina, love this question. How long should Johnny rest? I love that we're using his name. How long should Johnny rest between his running sets on Fridays? Now, if I look at this, 1,500 meters to 2,500 meters, this for me, because he's going to be running hard, this is going to fall under what I would call lactate threshold training, right? It basically means that he's like pushing hard. It's still submaximal. And when I know that when I'm programming lactate threshold, I know that his rest period needs to be roughly 1-to-1. Okay, so let's say, okay, Paulina, you were good at maths. You nailed the first maths. If he's running at a 6-minute pace and he's doing 1,500 meters, that means it's going to take him roughly 9 minutes, right? Okay, it's going to take him roughly 9 minutes. So therefore, I'm going to give his rest to be maybe rest 7 to 9 minutes. Cool. So on our coaching course, we actually kind of teach all of these rest to work ratios, because I know you guys might be thinking, how the hell do you know you should be resting 1-to-1? That is just a general protocol that we know if we're prescribing lactate threshold work, it should roughly be 1-to-1. If I change this rest period and I made it 2 to 3 minutes instead of 7 to 9, poor Johnny's just not going to be able to recover, and he's not going to be able to hit a hard second or third set. Cool. So yeah, good question, Polina. Resting roughly 1-to-1 when doing lactate threshold work. Awesome. Okay, Lucinda, RAL for group program, so you work better. Fantastic. Yes, good. Awesome, guys. Those are some really, really good questions. And it also shows that this group has a really good grasp and understanding of program design. Has anyone got any more questions? No, love it. Okay, guys. So this whole thing has been recorded, by the way. So I'm going to put this online so you guys can have an opportunity to watch this all again. But if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly finish this presentation. No, I'm going to finish this webinar with a quick presentation. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to flip over because we got something pretty cool coming up next week. Okay, next week. So some of you may not know this, some of you may know this. We have an online coaching course, and our online coaching course is really geared towards people who are working with clients, well, groups or individual. And a big part of the online coaching course is really around the stuff we were talking about today. A lot of it is around program design. We teach you guys how to do assessments and consultations, and then how to write resistance training programs. We teach you how to write energy system programs. In this case, the 5K run progressions. And we also got a big chapter in there on kind of how to develop yourself as a coach, how to build a personal brand, how to, find your niche, how to speak to your niche, how to develop yourself in the future. It's a really powerful kind of soul searching chapter to finish the course. So our course, we basically got two options for it. We have a chance for you to do solo. So you can basically follow along at your own time and at your own pace. Or we have a cohort model. Now, our cohort model is basically joining a group of students and working through the course together. So we basically have 7 calls over 3 months. And at the end, each call is basically timed as you guys kind of finish each of the stages. We've got 6 stages in the course, and we basically jump on a call and basically kind of do what we did today, but it's a lot more kind of interactive. You guys will have a chance to kind of ask questions, share experiments and thoughts that you guys have been playing around with. Yeah, and it's a really kind of fun, interactive way to learn because you're building relationships and connections with other students. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because our next cohort starts next week. We have a few spaces available if anyone's interested. If you are someone who really cares and values things like NASM CEUs, then this course will actually give you 1.9 CEUs, which is the highest credits that you can get from an online course. Actually, not from an online course, from a course in general. And here are our prices. So we have actually just made some adjustments to our prices. We actually launched this course last year, and just recently, we actually chose to reduce the prices for this course because we want to just get this course out to more people. A big objective for us in 2025 is how can we just help more coaches get on this? We understand it's a big financial investment, investing in your education. So we actually created 3-month and 6-month installments. So, if cash is a little bit tighter for you, you can kind of spread out that risk over a longer period. Actually got some people on this call who are going to be joining our next cohort, which is fantastic. I'm looking forward to you guys joining us. So yeah, if you maybe heard about these prices before, it's actually quite a considerable drop, and we are most likely, we are going to be sticking with this price moving forward. So yeah, that's a little change from more recently. Just in terms of a few different changes that I think it's important for you guys to know, the differences between the cohort and solo. All of our courses, the solo and the cohort model, you guys will have to be submitting assignments. So at the end of each stage, you'll have to submit an assignment, and our education team will respond to you. So a lot of those assignments are things like case studies, like what I just took you guys through. We'll present you with a client, and you're going to have a go at trying to write programs for that client. And the expectation is not for you guys to nail it, but you basically have myself and my team giving you guys feedback on how you can write those programs better. And the whole idea here is actually give you some practical know-how knowledge of how to actually take all these concepts and actually give them to your clients. Because that's what I found with all the courses that I was doing in my early days of coaching, was I was learning all these principles, but then when it came to actually writing the programs, I was really stuck. I didn't really have much practice on how to actually do it. So that's a big, big part of this course. The solo one is basically you guys can start that at any time you want, and you just follow along at your own speed. You'll have less assignments to complete, so you don't get as much feedback from the coaches. And of course, you don't get the calls at the end of each stage. Whereas on the cohort, you'll get all of your calls, and you'll have a few more assignments to submit. So definitely a bit more thorough. I think just important in terms of start date. So 13th of February is going to be our kickoff call for the next cohort. And then these are going to be our times for next cohort. So we have these dates already locked into our diary. Now, sometimes people can't make these dates. We have clashes in schedule. We got maybe work and life gets in the way. But all of our calls will be recorded, and you guys will also be on a WhatsApp group with all the students. So you'll have a chance to basically ask questions over the 3 months whenever you need. So kind of the whole team is on board here to kind of help you through that. So those are our call dates. They're all at 5 p.m. Hong Kong time. So I know we've got people calling in from kind of all over the world right now. So you'll kind of have to just do a little bit of maths as to what that means in your own time zone. Yes, those are our new prices. And that's it. That is all. So I just want to finish by saying thank you very much to you guys for joining me. I hope you got some value out of this. I really, really enjoy programming. It's probably one of the areas of coaching that I love the most, and I always have done. So putting on these webinars is actually just a bit of a joy for me, and it really makes me feel good and brings me a lot of purpose. So I'm going to be doing more of them for sure. In the next couple of months, focus is definitely going to be on our next cohort and helping those students be the best coaches that they can be. So expect to see our next one of these probably in about 3 months or so. But if you guys have any questions in the meantime around coaching, around programming, I really try to get back to everyone on my Instagram. You guys can send me a message there and be as thorough and complex with your questioning as you want. As I said, I really enjoy just helping people. And yeah, hopefully stay in touch with you guys. If you guys are going to be joining on the cohort, would love to see you there. If you've got questions about the cohort, you can send me those questions on social media. We also offer free calls. So Chris, my colleague, he can jump on a call with you. If you just want to speak to someone about where you're at in your career and whether the course is even the right thing for you, the objective of that call is not to try and sell you the course. It's just to kind of help you guys, because I know navigating your coaching careers is tough, whether you've been in the career or the industry for a long time or you're just starting. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Really, really appreciate it. Remember, here, reach out to me if you need anything, and have yourselves a lovely day.
Thank you. Thanks.
See you guys. Thanks for joining, Natasha. See ya.